What's going on, everybody? Triple Crown 24 back today. And I wanted to make a video talking about some of the strategies that I use for buying cards on eBay. A lot of people are getting into the hobby and thought this would be a fun video to do. There's a lot of videos out there on this subject already, but I figured I'd toss my hat into the ring, show some of the things that I found to be successful for me. But if you have any tips of your own, you can feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'm always open to new ideas. I'm always finding new strategies that have helped me out on certain listings, and sometimes they've saved my butt on a few listings. So I'm going to show you some of the different examples of listings as well, since there are different types. So let's go ahead and get started here. For those who are not familiar with my channel, I'm a Miguel Cabrera super collector, so you can expect to see quite a few Miguel Cabrera cards in this video. But the first one here is a 2020 Topps Heritage Chrome White Refractor, a card that I have been after pretty much since 2020 Topps Heritage was released earlier this year. So when I saw this one pop up while searching for listings, it was one that I knew right away I needed to add to my watch list and make a play on when the time was right. Before I could even determine that, though, I had to make a decision and go through a process. So here's kind of the decision-making process that I go through when I even decide to bid on a card and what I really think about. So the first part of it is, do I really want the card? Which in this case, yes, I do. I've been after this one for a while. And then from there, I kind of assign on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do I want this card? Is it one that I would want to prioritize over other cards on my watch list? Because I can't afford to buy all of them. I'm on a budget, so I got to figure out which cards I really want to pursue and which ones can wait. And part of how I determine that would be the next two things I like to consider, which would be the availability of the card and the competition on the card. Looking at this card specifically, we look at availability. We do know the print run on this one. It is a print run of 71, pretty decently rare, meaning I might not see this card pop up all that often, especially as time goes on. You'll see with a lot of the numbered stuff, unless it's a popular card or a popular parallel of a certain player, for example, a gold Mike Trout Topps update rookie card. That's a card that will probably appear more often as opposed to a different type of gold from, or a gold of a different player, I should say, from 2011 update. And also the competition on it as well is something to keep in mind. There are not too many of these available. Who would be my competition for bidding on this card? Well, typically I can tell if I go into the bid history here. I know a lot of the guys who bid on Miguel Cabrera cards because I see them in a lot of listings. For example, right here, they won't give you the exact eBay ID, but I can generally tell from their bid history. So this guy with the green star, I have seen him around before on certain listings. Based on his feedback score, I have a pretty good idea. This guy has been kind of popping up recently as well. So this is potentially a guy who I might be competing against at some point too. So that kind of gives me an idea. That's just something that if you're buying the same type of player, the same team, same cards from the same set, you might see that. If you're someone who's more so just collecting cards that don't have too much in common, that's something that you probably won't be able to find. That's a good way to kind of figure out your competition, and then just kind of considering who would want to buy this card. So in this case, team collectors of the Tigers and player collectors of Miguel Cabrera. That's kind of the two that come to mind right away, is who collects this team, who collects this player, how popular is this team and player. Cabrera, fairly popular. He's a future Hall of Famer, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, set builders. Heritage is a set that is pretty much designed, I would say, for set builders. So those who are very into it will go after some of these. They're typically black refractors, but because of the 71 design, it's a white refractor in this instance. And because of how low print run this is for a set builder, this is usually someone who is very aggressive with building the sets, given how difficult it would be to obtain all these cards that are numbered to 71. Meaning that if there is a set builder who gets in on this, it could get ugly in terms of the bidding. This card could get expensive. So those are the kind of things I want to consider, is who am I going to be competing against? Is this card going to be available to me again at this price and how badly do I want it. So I've answered those questions for myself. Now I am ready to make a bid on it. And I have to consider what the price is that I want to pay on it. So I have my idea in mind right now. I'm not going to actually place my bid right now. I have a snipe set on this card. The third-party sniping service that I use is Gixxon. I would highly recommend it. One of the nice things about the sniping devices is, say that you're going out, you're doing something, you're spending time with the family, whatever the case may be, you don't actually have to be there when the auction ends. And another part of it too that I found is nice is that it gives you more control over setting a limit and sticking to that limit. I know that there's been times where I have actually manually sniped and I get outbid with 6 seconds left. I have 2 seconds left now after my bid fails and I'm panicking. I have to determine if I really want to just throw that in that last second bid to try to win it uh, and go over my budget that I had set for myself. So it eliminates that temptation to kind of throw in that extra bid with a couple extra dollars or however much extra on it to try to win it at the end. So that is a benefit of using that as well. Typically, you want to wait till the end on certain cards to bid. There's going to be a few examples that I'm going to show you here in a second where I don't believe that's the case, but generally speaking, that's another reason the sniping services are good. So for example, right here, this card right now is at $24.50. The reason I'm going to wait to bid and not just put in my max bid right away is because if I put it in right now, that is going to give people nearly 5 days to go ahead and try to outbid me. I don't want that. I want to keep the price as low as possible for as long as possible. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to play around with the people already bidding on it. I just hope that they don't place any more bids. Basically, because this card can always go up, but it can't go back down unless there's some kind of bid retractions. But most of the time, in fact, almost all the time, you're not going to see that on these types of cards. So that is an example for a card. I figured this is the type of card that people are probably more interested in bidding techniques on, so I started with this one. But I'm going to show you a couple of examples where I don't wait till the end. So let's go to this one here. Now I already have this card, so I won't be placing a bid on it, but I just kind of want to use this as an example. This is an auction that has a best offer feature. Now this is something that eBay didn't used to do. I don't really know when they added in this feature, but it is something that is pretty nice when you see a card you really want that is at auction and you don't want to wait. So what happens is that they can start off, the seller that being, the auction with their starting bid price. In this case, it's $2.50. So I can start off by placing that bid, or I can make an offer right now. So what I do is I go up to this screen right here, I make an offer, and I will send a offer to the seller. I can give them any of these amounts of time, and I can add a message to them if I want to add that message in there as well, possibly to kind of figure out where their head is at. So that is something that I'll take a look at possibly doing if there's a card I want to be really aggressive with and I don't want to have to compete with it at auction. As soon as someone places a bid though, this best offer feature goes away on this. So this is a case where I would actually make a bid ahead of time. Now I'm not going to put in my best offer on this card. So let's say that I wanted to pay $10 for this card, and that's my top level bid. I'm not going to put in $10 right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in $2.50 as a minimum bid just to eliminate the best offer feature. That way, if someone else bids on it ahead of time, they don't drive me up to my max price. But at the same time, I can eliminate this best offer feature so that nobody else can go ahead and make that offer and take away this card before I have a chance to bid on it. So that's something I usually do with some of the higher end cards that I don't really want to um, I don't want to take the chance of someone else grabbing it beforehand. And this way, I'm not playing my cards, pun not intended there, lay them all out on the table right away. Instead, I'm just placing this opening bid, and then later on, I can go in with my sniper. I can manually bid towards the end of the auction with my actual max bid. So that's one of two examples where I will place a bid earlier on. Here's a listing that I actually won already, and this is for a Rip card mini exclusive. This is kind of a lower end card, and this strategy probably more so pertains to these lower end cards. But if you're someone who is a player collector or super collector like me, this is something that you might find helpful. So this is a card right here that's not a big money card. If I had to guess, my max bid was just over $10 for this when I placed it. But all I did at the beginning was I placed one bid here and then I set a snipe for my max bid. That's because it was starting at 99 cents. So this card, I added it to my watch list with less than 24 hours to go, and I saw it had no bids on it, which at this price, I would have been very happy to win it at this price. And this is an auction that I didn't think would be too hotly contested, if contested at all. But the thing that I want to do is I want to avoid letting someone else get the advantage of possibly winning it for 99 cents. There are some people who might see a card like this with no bids and they'll toss up a bid for 99 cents because that's a good deal to them. They'd be really happy if they win it. Maybe they'd be happy if they won it for $5. So all of a sudden now, if I placed my bid in, I would have won, but I probably would have had to pay like $5.50 instead if someone else had bid. So I put in my bid here. I just put in the bid for 99 cents and then I set a snipe later on. This is something that I will do to basically deter anyone from trying to win it at that 99-cent price when it already has a bid on it. Basically, it sends a message, hey, I'm here. I'm going to be bidding on this card. You're not going to be able to get it for 99 cents. That's the only other time that I would probably bid ahead of time. It's just to kind of scare anyone off from trying to win it at that starting price. And in this case, it worked out. I didn't think it was going to go for too much more than this, but I wanted to assure that it didn't. So that is my strategies for auctions. Let's go ahead and move into more so buy it now and best offers. So something that I will usually take a look at here. This is a fixed price listing where there is no best offer feature. However, as I'll show you here in a minute, there are times when you can actually get an offer from the seller. So a lot of times on these, I will see this right here and I will add it to my watch list unless it's a card that it's too good of a deal to pass up. I'm worried that it won't be there the next time I check. I just need to buy it now. And if there's a card like that, or it's a card that you really need, it's a card that you really want, it's a 10 out of 10 for you, don't mess around with it. Just get it then if you're happy with the price. If you can live with that price, take it. You don't want to miss out on it. But for this card right here, I'm not in a huge rush to get it. It's not a very high priority for me, but I'm definitely interested, and I'm fairly satisfied with this price. It's fairly all right for this card, I would say, in terms of how much I'm willing to pay for it. But what I'll do is I will add this to my watch list still, because sometimes sellers will send you a seller offer. So maybe it's only a 50-cent discount. Maybe they offer this to me for $1 less, whatever the case may be. There are sellers who, when you add a card to your watch list, will offer you a certain percentage off almost immediately. I believe it's something that you can set up in your store. Personally, I don't really do that when I'm selling cards. I will usually send the offers manually because every card is kind of different for me in terms of what I'm willing to accept on it. But in this case, some sellers will do it right away. Now, in this case, I've had this card on my watch list for longer than I can remember putting it on my watch list, so I'm probably not going to get a seller offer at this point. So at some point, this is a lower priority for me. If I'm in the mood to buy a lower end card, this is one that I will take a look at. So let me show you what the seller offer looks like in action here. So here's one for a card that I added to my watch list yesterday. It is a 2019 Topps Tribute Orange autograph of Miguel Cabrera. So this seller has it listed at $125. They sent an offer to me for $100, so I can accept that right now. This is sent to anyone who is watching the listing, so I'm not the only one who got it. I can decline their offer if I am just not interested at that price, or I can counter their offer. So what this tells me here, the seller offers, it's a really nice tool and feature that eBay added not too long ago. I want to say it was a couple of years ago, because it really gives you an idea of what the seller is thinking on the card. From my perspective as a seller, usually what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a seller offer that is a little bit above what I'm willing to accept for it, just to try to get a little bit more from the sale. But it's more so to be a little bit more, I guess, aggressive, and well, maybe aggressive is negatively connotated in terms of selling cards. We'll go with assertive or basically trying to make the sale. For those of you who are on sales, you'll always be closing. It's a way for me to try to close a sale with an interested buyer, to draw them to my card rather than a different card that they are potentially interested in buying. So that is why I'll send them out. So here, this tells me that this guy, this is what he's thinking. There's probably two trains of thought that he has here. Number one, he's willing to accept a little bit less than this, but this is a ballpark figure. Number two, this is his quote unquote best price. So I'm not going to get any lower than this. I won't know unless I try to negotiate with him. But at least now I have a idea, and that's something. Unless it's a car that you got to make sure that you secure right away. I will generally wait about 12 hours to see if I get a seller offer. That way, I kind of know, is it worth the time to try to negotiate, and also maybe sometimes you'll get a seller offer for a lot less than what you were expecting. There was one time that I got an offer for a card actually at this price for $75, and I was able to negotiate it down to $60. And I was just going to offer 75 right away, but because I waited and I saw what they were thinking, that's why I was able to get it for a little bit cheaper. So I have 48 hours to accept that offer. One thing to kind of keep in mind as well, this is talked about on a lot of different videos, but eBay Bucks, basically kind of like a rebate program through eBay. I will generally wait on some of these higher end cards to try to buy them with eBay Bucks, because this means that I will get this amount back where I can use this for a future purchase. And these are certificates that are handed out quarterly. There's a lot of different videos on eBay Bucks that you can check out for more information on that. Or if you have any questions regarding it, feel free to leave a comment and I'll make sure to try to answer any questions regarding that. But that's something that I definitely do consider. So that is kind of the strategies that I use for buying. One more thing I wanted to kind of touch on here in this video is searching. So here's my page again. We'll go back to that. There's a feature that you can use that is called saved searches. So it shows up here on my page as following. These are my interests, so to speak. So these are interests that I am actively looking for cards. And the way that I have it set up is that I will get a notification anytime something meets this criteria. So it heads into the, that's put into the title. So for example, here, one of my searches that I have saved is Miguel Cabrera Red Refractor. So anytime that a listing with this search, if a listing pops up that fits this criteria, I will get a notification for it. I also get an email daily if any cards in the last 24 hours have been added in. So it's kind of a double-edged, or it's a backup plan, I should say. I'm losing my train of thought there. It's a backup plan in case maybe you miss a notification. My phone, I'm constantly getting notifications, so I definitely do miss some from time to time, or maybe it wasn't properly listed and then the seller changed the listing description. That kind of stuff happens as well. So I will save these, that way I'm notified. And what I'll usually do for these, it's cards that I am looking for something very specific. So in this case, the red refractor that I am really looking for is the 2018 Bowman Chrome. It is the last card that I need for my rainbow, and it's numbered to 5. So it's a card that I don't know if it will ever pop up. If it doesn't, it's going to be a very long time. I've been looking for this card for probably a year and a half, and I have had no luck finding it. So that is why I have this saved, so that I can be notified as soon as one pops up. I know I probably won't get a chance at many more, if ever, really. So I want to make sure that I am aware and ready to go when it does pop up. So I can also manually search that. You can see a lot of my previous searches there are Miguel Cabrera cards. So here's my search. One of the things I like to do is I like to look at newly listed, just to kind of see, because you never know. Sometimes you'll see something that might be priced too cheaply or less than what you think it should go for, and that way you can pick it up before someone else does. The chances of that happening usually pretty slim, because there's some people who are very active and very diligent. If you're looking to maybe buy a card right now, you can go to Ending Soonest. Maybe you're looking for something that is cheap you can go to lowest cost first. So this is sorted in a way that will show you um, these different cards in terms of which one is the cheapest, and it will sort it by the highest. So let's go back to the newly listed for a moment. So one of the issues with this search in terms of, I want this to be as vague as possible, just because sometimes you'll encounter some sellers that they'll list the cards with very minimal titles and very minimal descriptions, so it definitely hurts their chances of people seeing it, which can be used to your advantage because you were able to see a card that not very many eyes are on, and maybe you can get a good deal. What you'll see sometimes though is, for example, I'm looking for red refractors, so rare stuff. For example, this is a red refractor. This is not. This is a Panini Prism. Some people will sometimes call Panini cards refractors. Number one, it's out of confusion because the technical term for it is a prism. Number two, it's to drive up the search results. So they want more and more people looking for this specific card, or maybe looking for a red refractor. They want eyes on this because maybe they'll see this and they'll decide they want to buy this. So one thing you can do to kind of weed some of that out is use the dash sign, which can also be used as the minus sign, which is what we're doing here. And I'll put minus prism. So when I do that and I hit enter, now all of a sudden you don't see the Panini Prism cards because I have taken them out of the search. So anytime it sees the word prism, it will remove it. Now I have a lot more tops. You can see I have optic in there a lot too. So what I'll do is I will take minus optic. Now I'm just looking at, for the most part, tops cards. There's a few stragglers in here, like this Fleer card right here, but for the most part, just tops and Bowman stuff. And this has made my search more so what I'm looking for, not stuff that I'm not looking for. So that is kind of one of the things that you can do to uh, limit what you get. In fact, this should probably be my saved search, not the other one, because I cannot tell you how many times I get a notification for a red refractor that is actually just a red prism that I'm not interested in. So you want to make sure that if you're looking for something very specific, then you want to use these little qualifiers on it. You can also use these sorting categories on the side. I typically don't do that just because I know a lot of sellers don't update them in between. I know sometimes I list cards where I forget to update them myself, and it kind of throws off your searches. So I wouldn't recommend using these. This is usually a more effective tool because it weeds out cards that are listed in the title inappropriately. And then in general, a lot of times what I'll do is I will just search Miguel Cabrera in this case. And that's because I collect a lot of different cards of his, and I'll go to newly listed, and I have pretty good luck finding cards that are pretty good deals. Like, well, I'm not seeing any at the moment right here, but I'll see cards that are buy it nows, and I'll grab them before anybody else can. So that is, or I'll see something. For example, it was, I believe, this one right here, where I'll see a listing pop up, something I'm interested in, and I will just throw up my starting bid on it to eliminate this best offer before anyone else has a chance to make an offer if I'm really certain that I'm going to want to bid on this card. So that is something that I'll look for when I look at these newly listed cards, and I just use this general search because, like for example right here, this is a very plain title. It doesn't give you very much information about the cards. This is not to pick on the seller or anything, but it's just something that happens. The title is not very descriptive. It doesn't really tell me which cards are in the lot. If I click on it right here, I have to actually kind of look at the picture. You can see there's a Topps Gold in here. There's a negative refractor. There's a flame from Topps Fire. There's a Heritage short print. So those are some of the more rare cards that are in this. And if I look at the description here, this is just the generic description that I'm going to get with this listing. So really there's no information about the cards here. I kind of just have to know what I'm looking for on my own on this one. So this is a listing that doesn't give you much to work with. And you wouldn't be able to find this if you had searched Miguel Cabrera Topps Fire, for example. If you're looking for this card right here, you'd find this if you just searched, like I did, Miguel Cabrera, or Miguel Cabrera lot. Let me try that out. You'd probably find it with that. There you go. So I searched for the lot and this one popped up. So that's kind of my tips here. That's definitely not the comprehensive guide, end all be all. There's definitely a lot more that we could explore. So if you'd like a follow-up to this video, you can let me know down below and I will definitely take that into consideration and kind of think of what else I can share. But just figure this was a good starting point. These are some of the strategies that I use most often. There's some more obscure tactics I use as well, but again, that's for a different video. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.